Welcome to Life Source Education and Encouragement. This is Series 1, First Phoenix, Discovering My Purpose at the 1995 Million Man March on Washington, D.C. This is Episode 1, I Am My Brother's Keeper, also known as How I Got There, God's Hand on Me. Amazing things can happen when we simply make ourselves available. Thanks for joining me in this story of transformation. I hope you find it useful in some way, shape, or form, and that you are at least entertained and interested as we take this walk together. The story really can be summed up in just three sentences. I had a friend that wanted to attend the Million Man March, but didn't want to go by himself. I had another friend who wanted me to help that person and asked me to, and I agreed. And I did both things because I cared for both of those people. I made myself available to them in the ways they needed me to do so. The story that's going to follow is going to expand on those three sentences. And of course, it's a story of transformation. And since it is a story of transformation, I want to share with you four key questions that I learned prior to that journey that helped me to understand what was going on, to examine myself in the process, and to help me to see change as it was occurring. And I want to share those with you now. Who are you? What do you want? Why are you here? Where are you going? As background for the story, let's take a look at how question one applied to me at the time in two parts. First, statistically, and then experientially. So, who was I statistically? I was a 30-year-old black male, born and raised in the South. I had only a high school education. I was 10 years into a hotel career. I was earning 62% of the state median income. I was unmarried, but cohabitating. As you probably already know, statistics alone don't tell a whole story. So let me convert those stats into actual experience and feelings. Experientially, my career was low paid, it was stressful and unfulfilling. Needless to say, I did not enjoy being at work. I felt unqualified for better jobs because I had no degree. Hence, I was unmotivated to seek one. I was constantly dealing with the effects of systemic racism. That's a whole story by itself. We'll deal with that later. I existed in loose relationship, which did not lack permanence or safety, which is a source of emotional anxiety. So, having converted stats into experience and the feelings that came with that, let me sum them up with two basic things. My condition was one of just surviving, no real sense of purpose, no vision for the future. And it was a constant struggle with beliefs that limited myself and those around me. And of course, the constant struggle under systemic racism, which is a whole other story we'll get to at some point. So, that being said, let's move on to how I got there. Let me revisit for a moment the three-sentence summary of the whole story, or at least the beginning of it, so you have some more flavor and a little more context. The gentleman that wanted to go to the march was the brother of my girlfriend at the time. He and I got along pretty well. We had lots of good conversations. He thought I was a good guy, as best I could tell. We'd play chess together, and I had limited success with that because he's a really sharp guy. But I did enjoy spending time with him. So when she asked me to go with him, I thought, sounds great. I think I'll have a good time. Now, that was based purely on our relationship. I wasn't very politically active or astute on social issues at the time. I just wanted to hang out with my girlfriend's brother as a favor to him and because I cared about her. So he and I hopped in his car when the day arrived, and we hit the road early in the morning. It was a 12-hour road trip from Louisville, Kentucky to Washington, D.C. As we cruised along, snacking and talking, I mean, we covered all sorts of subject matters. This guy was very well read. He's a thoughtful person in terms of social issues and political issues, and also, I'd say international issues. Some things came up in there I just had to listen on. I couldn't really make any contributions. But I can say we had great conversation. He did a lot of teaching. I did a lot of listening. But in all honesty, I had the vanity of a 30-year-old dude. I wanted to have something to say about everything. I felt like maybe I was being condescended to a lot. And I'm sure that wasn't happening, just my perception at the time. Didn't take away from my enjoyment of the conversation. I just realized I could have gotten more out of it if I'd been more patient, been more humble, listened, received, talked through some things I thought instead of wanting to argue that I was right about. So overall, it went really well. But I want to hit on two key things that came up that, for me, defined the preparation I received for my time at the march. So, along the way, somewhere in the middle of a whole different topic, this brother looked me in my face and said to me, "You know, Eric, we are defined by our relationships." I immediately pushed back. I began to argue that no one defines me, I define myself, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure what I was saying didn't make any sense. And looking back on it, the look he had on his face probably meant he understood I was making no sense, but he let me speak my piece. And then he simply began to ask questions. He used the Socratic method to guide me towards looking at it in a more comprehensive way. Now, I still didn't agree with that assertion of his by the time the trip ended when we got there, but I was definitely thinking about it. We are defined by our relationships. Why did I go on this trip in the first place? Because I was in relationship with two people. One person I loved, one person I liked. And it was based on the relationship that I went on the trip. Now, I'm conscious of this at the time when we were arguing the statement, we are defined by our relationships. I wasn't thinking about it because it's all about my ego, my vanity, somehow being, or just wanting to argue back. I don't really know. It's been a while. I just know that that was a defining statement because it caused me to think about it not just for the rest of that trip, but for years afterward. And I'll come back to that at some point. The second defining thing that happened was as we were just riding along, and I don't know why I said this honestly, but I just blurted out, "Hey, you know what? When we get there, I'm going to get on TV." And without missing a beat, he turned to me and said, "Because you stated that out loud, it is going to happen. Your words have creative power. You are going to be on television one way or another." Now, I heard him say it, and I felt the power of what he said. But again, I'm a man with limited beliefs at the time. I did not believe that my words could make a difference, could change things. I didn't believe that simply because I said it, it was going to happen. This is something he had conviction in, and I later gained conviction about. At the time, though, I just dismissed it. Though we were just talking, I didn't think too much about it. Okay, all that being said, let me touch on some key takeaways I hope you're getting from having listened to my story. I am my brother's keeper, key points review. God used my loved ones to present the opportunity and deliver me to where I was supposed to be. God prepared me to say yes by building those relationships and appealing to my accommodating nature. Lastly, God prepared me for the experience on the journey there. I encourage you to take note of how God worked through other people, through my relationships, to bring me to a place where He could make changes inside of me that would make changes for the rest of my life.